We're going to talk about Lerone Murphy versus Movsar Evloev. The event in general, I don't know. What did you think about the overall, the full event, all the fights? What was your first impression?
It was okay. It was decent. There was a couple bangers, and then the rest were all kind of like, all right.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm like, dude, the UFC is they're starting to pour more money into the finishing bonuses and stuff, and these people are still going to decision. I'm like, dude, how do we motivate you guys? Like, honestly,
Yeah.
but I mean, the card was decent.
Yeah, I don't know. It felt so. Obviously, I didn't watch all the fights, but I was kind of watching generally, just kind of keeping track of what was going on. Um, Man, I don't know. Part of me feels like it just feels a little uninspired. Like it just kind of felt dry. Like there was no interesting people or like interesting matchups. It just kind of felt, I don't know. Like it was. I mean, there was obviously some big moments, some good fights that we'll get into. Baraniewski had a sick finish. Then there was that crazy fight between who was it? Axel Sola and what's the other guy's name?
Mason Jones.
Mason Jones. All right, that was a good one. And yeah, and the main event was, we'll get into it more in detail, but very okay. So yeah, I guess where do you want to start with this?
Start with the main, then go down. Just kind of from there. I guess I can kind of start with my thoughts in the main card.
Yeah.
As far as the decision goes, I I think it should have been a draw. I think most people probably agree with that. But at the end of the day, I'm happy Mofsar won because based off that performance from Lerone, he was gassed. And Volk would walk through Lerone so easily. And I would not want to watch that fight, me personally. Mofsar, whether you think he won this fight or not, would give Volk way more run for his money than Lerone would. And so, based off of just the future and like the fights that I want to see, I'm very happy that Mofsar maybe have gotten a robbery. But, that's just kind of the way it is. Mofsar definitely showed some ring rust, and I think that was pretty obvious in this fight. He didn't shoot a single takedown in the first or second round. To go from the way he fought Aljo, which was basically like an NCAA championship, to not shooting for 10 minutes, he looked a little bit nervous maybe in this fight, but I mean, he kind of picked the pace up in later rounds and got the dub.
Yeah. So I didn't watch it live because I was in the middle of something, but I rewatched it just literally a few minutes ago. And I watched it in Portuguese because that was the only broadcast that was available on Paramount on YouTube. So was there a point deduction? Did I miss something? I feel like I saw Movsar kicked Lerone Murphy in the nuts twice, but was there a point deduction for that? That seems kind of weird. I mean, I don't
After
know.
the
I
second
feel
one.
like
Yeah, there
really
was one.
interesting. Did Mark Goddard make that call? Or
Yeah,
is it
whoever
the
was refing
judges?
it. Who was
Wow.
refing it?
See, I don't know if I agree with that because like it's one of those things that's kind of hard to avoid because what happened was is basically Evloev was throwing an inside leg kick to Murphy's lead leg, but Murphy stepped in right as he did that, and so instead of hitting his thigh, he basically hit him right in the junk. But like, what is he supposed to do about that? Like throwing an inside leg kick to someone's lead leg is like a very normal thing to do. Like he was very much not targeting it, like it was unintentional. And there was no way he could have prevented that. Like, how would he have known that Murphy was going to step in to throw a jab or something and just take it right on the cup versus like on the inside of the thigh? Like, that seems silly to me. And so having literally just watched the fight, to me, it was very obvious that Movsar won that fight. Like, very obvious. There was not a single moment where I feel like Lerone Murphy actually had the upper hand, where he was like he had Movsar a little hurt or on defense. Like it seemed to me the entire time that Movsar was the aggressor. He had a couple good moments where he had Murphy up against the fence and he was really kind of beating up on him. He was completely manhandling him in round 5. Like I don't understand how anybody could call that fight for Lerone Murphy. Maybe I saw a different fight than everyone else, but to me that was like a super obvious decision, like 48-47 or something. And I think the point deduction is silly. Like I don't think that should have been a thing.
I feel like the solution to your point deduction is like for nut shots at least, like no more point deductions, but have all fighters wear steel cups, like the Muay Thai cups or whatever. That way it's like, yeah, I'm not gonna take a point, but if you kick me in the balls, it's gonna hurt you more than me. You
Yeah.
know, I think that's probably the right way. Maybe the fact that it was in UK had fans pretty riled up that Lerone didn't win. Point deduction. I thought Lerone Murphy took rounds 1 and 2 probably, and then
Probably, but
Movsar
not by
Movs-
much.
yeah, and then
Honestly.
Movsar took 3, 4, 5 with the point deduction to give it a draw. So that's what I saw, but I think maybe one judge had one of the earlier rounds to Movsar is why he won or something like that. I'm not exactly
Which is
sure.
completely fair. Like those two rounds were very close. I remember watching that and thinking, I don't think Murphy did anything in those rounds to like really make him stand out that he won them. Sometimes all it takes is one big moment. Like if it's a pretty close, but you have one good shot that backs them up and maybe makes him stumble back a second. Like that's all it takes to win a round sometimes. He didn't have any of those moments from what I remember. And I watched this fight like 10 minutes ago. So yeah, I don't know. I think I wish both of them had, it's almost like they went to like level 1 of their offense, but they never really broke through to like level 2 or 3 where they were making reads and actually adjusting to their opponents were doing. They were just kind of trying the same things over and over and over again, and it wasn't really working. Like Lerone Murphy was basically just throwing a 1-2 the entire time and then trying to bait him in to land a knee or a spinning elbow. He tried the knee like probably 3 or 4 times. He tried the spinning elbow like 3 times, the same one he hit Pico with, but none of it landed against Evloev. It's like, well, at a certain point, you got to be like, dude, this throwing my 1-2 or my double jab, like you're going to have to stack up the combo to some, like you're going to have to build on that a little bit, not just throw the same thing over and over again. Because Evloev was doing the same thing every time. He was just slipping really hard to the inside. Like every time Murphy threw his jab, Evloev would just duck on his lead leg and slip on the inside and try and land his overhand over the top. Literally every time. And Evloev was doing the same thing too. He was just throwing his overhand over and over and over again, occasionally throwing a body kick or just like some weird spinning thing. And it's like, I don't know. I think both of them get completely smoked by Volkanovski because he just has a more like sophisticated game. Evloev definitely has a better shot at beating Volk. Lerone Murphy, the problem with Lerone Murphy is that Lerone won't really dictate the pace of the fight. He lets his opponent dictate the pace, and Volkanovski will just work him if he does that. Like he will just work him for 5 rounds and win a very, very comfortable 50-45 decision. I almost guarantee it if he fights Lerone. Volk won't get overly aggressive and fall into traps like getting kneed in the head or elbowed in the head. Like that won't happen with Volk. Evloev might be able to challenge Volk by using his wrestling. Like obviously he was he had the upper hand against Lerone Murphy in that area. But yeah, man, you know, one of the things I was thinking about actually is because every time Evloev was slipping inside and really like leaning over heavily onto his front leg every time Lerone Murphy threw his jab, I thought it would have been cool for Lerone Murphy to just feint the jab. Like don't overcommit all the way with the jab, but just give it a little feint and then throw the knee, right? Knee up the middle or just like knee kind of up the side. Who was it that did that recently? Oliveira actually landed a shot kind of like that against Max Holloway. But the one that really came to mind for me was Petr Yan versus Sean O'Malley. That knee that O'Malley landed up the middle in round 3 was basically that, right? He just pumped the jab out a little bit, and Yan, like every time he would do that, Yan would kind of do this, just cover up and put his hands up high. And so he just pumped the jab, and Yan leaned down, bang, got hit with the knee right up the middle. I'm like, dude, Lerone Murphy should have tried that against Evloev because it was just over and over and over again. Evloev was leaning so hard onto his front leg every time Murphy threw his 1-2. It's like, dude, instead of throwing the 1-2, just feint the jab and throw the knee. I mean, I thought that would have been really cool, but he actually tried it in round 5. But I think because they were in a weird stance, and so Evloev, as he ducked, he kind of rolled and he took the knee kind of on the ribs or like on the lat, kind of on his back versus like right in the solar plexus or on the head. And so it didn't really affect it that much, but I'm like, oh, the idea was there. And like, if you tried it, you know, when you guys were both orthodox instead of southpaw, like maybe it would have been different. I don't know. But anyways, that was something that I saw as well. But beyond that, honestly, the fight was very okay. Like I feel like the UFC has to give Movsar the title shot at this point. It would be kind of ridiculous if they didn't, because he's on like a 10 fight win streak. he's a number 1 contender and he just beat the number 3. It's like, yeah, you kind of have to give it to him. But dude, John Silva, I'm sure the UFC is really tempted to give John Silva the title shot instead because he's just so much more entertaining than both of them. And I actually think John Silva's style could be more problematic for Volk than Movsar, just stylistically. Even though when I really think about it, if Movsar fought John Silva, I actually think Movsar would probably win, even though I think John Silva would probably have a better shot at beating Volk. That's just my take anyways, but
yeah, the new like triangle of the featherweight division.
Yeah.
And it's funny too with Ilya talking about how, on the Joe Rogan podcast a while back, he was talking about how nobody in MMA works the long combinations, and that's where most of his knockouts stem from. And it's you just mentioned how Lerone and Movsar are just like the whole fight was just like 1-2s and just basic stuff. And it's like, I think that's what separates, great strikers from elite strikers. You see like people like Ilya, who's willing to just be more crafty and just throw longer combinations,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have much more to say. I mean, I'm happy Movsar won, but I don't really care about either of these fighters. I don't know how Lerone was undefeated. Looking at his style and stuff, I'm like, dude, how has nobody beat this guy yet? Because we have undefeated people in the UFC like Shavkat, Michael Morales, Hamzat, and then we have Lerone Murphy, who's undefeated, but it's like, dude, you got killers, and you have this guy who just like, he's undefeated, but is he really that good to be undefeated? I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe he's a little cherry picked for his opponents, but yeah.
Yeah, I think Lerone Murphy is a fighter who is usually he's good at kind of controlling like the range of the fight and kind of almost not allowing the fight to get ugly. You know what I mean? And he is pretty technical, like all around. Like he doesn't have any major holes in his game. Even in grappling, he's not terrible. Obviously he got taken down a handful of times, but it wasn't like he got, he was able to get back to his feet on several of those takedowns. So I think just one of those things where because he's well-rounded enough and good at controlling the range, controlling the pace of the fight, like he was able to kind of make it through most of the competition at featherweight, but against the elite of the division, he's definitely not good enough to break through. Like if he fought, like imagine a couple years ago when Ilya, Max Holloway, Volkanovski, those guys were at the top of the pack, he would have lost to all of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I agree with what you said that the right man won the fight. Like even if there was some weird judging or some rounds should have gone to Lerone Murphy, or maybe the foul shouldn't have been a thing, the point deduction shouldn't have been a thing. As they say in basketball, ball don't lie. It's like at the end of the day, the guy who won, who was supposed to win, the better fighter that night, I think won. I think Movsar deserved to win. I just think he was a better fighter that night.
Yeah, I agree. That's probably all I got for the main, but I just want to touch on the co-main just because it was the co-main. I don't want to just not talk about it, but I don't have anything. I did not
see that one, by the way. So yeah, you're gonna have to fill me in on it.
I barely was watching it. I kind of saw a couple minutes and kind of okay. I know they're trying to push Luke Riley, and it was a decent fight, but there's no way that Michael Aswell should be a co-main to a fight night. To like not an Apex, like we're talking like a fight in a stadium, like Michael Aswell. Like what? Like is the UFC trying to die? Like is the UFC trying to lower its stock? But I mean the fight was decent, but I definitely think they're trying to push Luke Riley, and he needs a lot more time before he's like that stage ready. Can't be getting the co-main off of a Bogdan Grad finish. But I don't really have anything to say on his actual performance. I mean, he won, so congrats. But
yeah, I don't got anything either. I didn't watch it, so I'm gonna say no comment from me.
I definitely want to talk about the MVP and Sam Patterson fight because I think that says a lot for MVP's fighting style, and he's kind of somebody who's hypnotized the fans into thinking he's a finisher. He's kind of like a striking Marab in a sense. And like I remember I was talking to you earlier about this, that he had the interview where he was like, it sucks, man. Like nobody wants to, I want to get finishes, but nobody wants to engage with me. And it's like, dude, you hadn't and you didn't engage with anybody. Like he's such a counterpuncher, and then he gets mad at his opponents for not wanting to like fall into his traps. Like, hey, you can't just set traps the entire fight. Like you actually gotta like hunt a little bit and go after your opponent. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
you can't just like
and lure them into your traps. Like you can't just stand there bouncing on your toes, expecting your opponents to just crash in. And it's like, no. You gotta draw them in. You gotta bait them into that stuff.
Yeah, and Sam Patterson definitely knew that, and obviously he looked kind of like a neutered dog in there. He looked like, you look at any of his past fights, and he just goes after his opponents. He absolutely mauls them, and then in this fight, it looked like he was sparring. He just kind of, he probably threw less than 20 strikes in 15 minutes, which is insane.
Yeah.
And this is kind of something I want to bring up. Sometimes a fighter needs to get dropped to understand that he's in a fight. Like the Mason Jones fight. It's like the mythical fighter is Mason Jones after he's been knocked down. You know what I mean? It's like up until that point, he's kind of just flowing. He gets knocked down. And then as soon as he gets knocked down, that adrenaline, gritty fighterness comes out. And he's like, okay, I'm going to fight,
Yeah, it's like he kind of broke the ice a little bit. He no longer is so guarded, like, oh, I can't get hurt. It's like, nah, I already got hurt in this fight. I'm in the chaos. I'm just committing to it. I'm just going to be comfortable in the chaos kind of thing.
Exactly. And that is what this fight needed. Sam Patterson needed to be knocked down once, but it never happened. And so he looked like a fighter who was kind of afraid to get hurt the entire fight. So I really wish there was a knockdown in this fight, because I think this fight could have been fireworks, but it just looked like a sparring match. It just looked like a sparring match. So I don't know. I don't really have much more to say. I'm not impressed with either guy, even though MVP won. But yeah, that's kind of all I have to say.
Yeah, I don't know if I have much to add. It was a boring fight. I agree with you that I don't like MVP. I don't like how he doesn't treat the fight like it's actually a fight. He kind of treats it like it's a show a little bit, but at the same time, like a not very entertaining show. You know what I'm saying? It's like when he actually does hurt his opponents, he doesn't go for a finish. It's like, why? It's like the equivalent of Merab taking his opponent down and then like having the ability to sink in a front choke and then just like kissing his opponent. It's like, dude,
exactly.
We're not 12. Like, this is a fight. Freaking choke the guy. Don't try and like make it fun for the crowd by making it goofy or something. Like, that's not what we're here for. We want to see you finish this guy. And I feel like the same way about MVP. Like when he fought Jared Cannonier or Kevin Holland, it's like he'll rock him. Like he rocked Kevin Holland, and then he'll instead of like hunting for the finish, he'll hit him and then he'll stand there and kind of like do a little dance. It's like, dude, you're breaking the immersion here. Like you have to convince me that you're actually in there to really hurt your opponent. Otherwise, it takes away all the tension from it. I mean, we had this conversation a million times, but I feel like MVP is one of the guys that kind of breaks the immersion and it kind of loses the magic of what makes fights so intense. Because you're like, when you really are sold that these guys are really in there, it's kill or be killed. Like that element, if it's missing, the fight just loses the entertainment value for me personally. And because MVP his fights never feel like a kill or be killed kind of fight, because, I know if MVP hurts his opponent, he's just going to do a little dance instead of actually going for a finish. It's like, that's not kill or be killed. You know what I mean? And so, yeah.
Yeah. It's like, think about this. What was a more entertaining fight? MVP versus Jared Cannonier. He dropped him a couple times, or Kevin Holland versus D-Rod.
Oh, yeah. Kevin Holland versus D-Rod, 100%.
Because when D-Rod knocked down Kevin Holland, he jumped on him as quick as possible. And vice versa. When Kevin Holland hurt D-Rod, he jumped on him. He was like, I'm trying to get this dude out of here. I don't want to be here anymore.
Right.
And it's like you look back and it's like, two guys almost out of the top 15 going to war and trying to get a finish. Then you see MVP with a guy who's like top 8 ranked. And it's like, okay, he dropped him, but then just kind of like did a little like Fortnite dance or whatever, and then just kind of went back to his corner. It's like, dude, do you even want to be here? Like, what the heck?
Yeah.
And what's crazy is MVP had like an 88% finish rate outside of the UFC. And then he joined the UFC and he's like, and I don't know how many fights he's had. He's never gotten a finish.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, what happened? We saw your highlights of getting head kicks and doing spins, like spinning knockouts and like all this stuff. And you come to the UFC and you're just like just like sparring. It's like, dude, we brought you here because we want to see some crazy crap, you know? Do
Yeah.
it.
100%.
All right. Yeah, we got to talk about this Ewo fight. Dude, this was the fight. Dude, yeah. And I got to say, the first thing, last week, or the last podcast we did, I said, put your house on round 1 and sprinkle on the half a round KO prop. And I hope I made somebody money. I'll tell you that. Because I was on the money with that.
Oh, yeah.
30 seconds. And dude, Austin Lane, chinny, going down, dropping 30 pounds. Baraniewski at the top of his game. He's in his prime right now. And what's even crazier is that when we saw the interview, he's like, yeah, guys, I really want to show off my grappling. You know, I have a judo base. I was like, what? Yeah. This guy has a base and sitting on his butt, dude. And he's just knocking dudes out.
Yeah.
Like, and it looks like Ilya. Ilya has a base in Greco-Roman and Jiu-Jitsu, and he's knocking dudes out. Why do these grappling-based fighters come to the UFC and just have absolute rockets in their hands? Like, I'm just kind of in shock, but I love this guy.
It's exciting. Yeah, these are the kinds of people that the UFC needs. Like, more of whatever the hell this is. Iwo Baraniewski. Like, when you look at his record, he has 8 wins. All of them are by finish. And let's see, how many of them are within a half a round? All of them but 3. And those ones are, the finish happened at like the 3-minute mark. So he literally has never seen he's almost never seen the second half of the first round in a pro MMA fight. That is ridiculous. He's 27, so like he's got some life left in him as far as, you know, the future in the UFC. And yeah, dude, I want to see this guy. I want to see them. I hope he stays active for one. I mean, it looks like he is, because last he fought was in December, and you know, that was 3 months ago, and he fought 3 months before that. So maybe he's just trying to stay really active and just kind of, you know, climb his way up the rankings as fast as possible. But dude, this guy could be seriously a star. I mean,
yeah,
crazy.
I mean, he's not taking any damage too.
No
reason not to be active. And like,
Absolutely.
dude, I love seeing this guy just knock out dudes, but I want to see this guy's wrestling and judo. He keeps talking about it. I'm like, dude, give this guy somebody who's not chinny, and so we can actually see him fight through the first round and maybe get into a grappling exchange, because I want to see what he has to offer, all facets of his game. Like, I want to see everything. But like, you notice how he knocked him down, or basically out, and he didn't just like run away and start dancing. Like, he actually jumped on him and started hammer fisting the hell out of him. Yeah, it's like, dude, I want to see this crap, you know? So yeah, he's going to be within the next year, dude, he's going to be a star. He basically is, but I mean, like a star.
Yeah.
But yeah,
no, I'm pumped.
That was crazy.
I'm very pumped.
I guess we can just kind of, this is where I'm kind of really don't got much to say on else, but we can touch on the CLD and Roman Dolidze fight.
I saw bits and pieces of it, but I didn't see the entire thing. So I'll
I can kind of fill you in. But basically, Roman Dolidze was obviously looking for a leg lock the entire time, because anytime he turned his back to CLD, he basically just almost Ryan Hall'd it, where he's kind of flopped to his back, tried to like roll and like do all this crap. I'm like, dude, you're 205 pounds. Stop doing this crap. Like, stop falling to your back. It's just not a good habit to be in. But, dude, CLD is, I love this dude striking. He's like if Izzy had an extra 10 pounds of muscle and was a Giga Chad. That's how I would describe him, and way more explosive than Izzy. Like, and also his fight IQ is pretty good. Like, Roman Dolidze tried to wrestle a little bit and he got taken down. I do think his takedown defense might be a hole in his game that people in the future could kind of expose. But as far as his get-ups and his, you know, when Dolidze was trying to like grab him and roll and he would defend it, like, I think his fight IQ is actually pretty good. So I'm a big fan of CLD. I think he's cool. I think he's going to get some good highlight KOs in the future.
Yeah, he's got a good finish rate as well, which is always a bonus.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I'm excited to see. Unless you have anything else to say, I kind of want
No,
to.
I don't got much else. Again, I only saw little bits and pieces of it, and it looked like CLD was winning pretty clearly.
Yeah. Obviously, the Mason Jones fight and the Axel Sola fight was. I called it earlier a reincarnated Dustin versus Dan Hooker.
Oh yeah,
That's kind of what it felt like. It was no defense, straight offense the entire time.
yeah.
You know, it's like why are some guys more willing to go in the fire like that than others? You know, because we need, and we need to find the guys in the world that are willing to, take some scar tissue and just really go for it, and
Yeah.
that's what that fight showcased. But that was really cool. And then I'm really disappointed in Losin Keita. I was kind of high on him because I was looking at his highlights and I was like, dude, this guy is just like laying dudes out. Like, what the heck? He's got crazy power. And Nathaniel Wood is very consistent. He's always pretty good. But I was expecting Keita to, because sometimes when a guy from a B League organization comes to the UFC, they either rise to the occasion and get a highlight knockout, or they whimper like a little dog, And a good example is like, I don't know, I would say Patricio Pitbull maybe was a little bit more on the whimpered side, and then like Aaron Pico was more on the like I'm coming to attack you side. Even though he got knocked out, but leading up to that, he came
good.
to fight. He came to
he
fight. And I was expecting Losin Keita to kind of debut like Aaron Pico, and he decided to just pull the Israel Adesanya versus Jared Cannonier. Like I'm just gonna like coast and try to do my best to get a decision, and just look terrible. So yeah, man, I get really disappointed when fighters, I'm like, dude, you have a 90% finish rate, you look really good, like Sam Patterson, and then you fight and you're like, wait a minute, you fight nothing like you have the last 10 times. What the heck went wrong? Like why? I don't understand.
Yeah, I think what you always have to keep in mind is that whichever fight you're watching, unless they're on a losing streak, you're most likely watching them against the best competition they've faced literally in their life in a fight, right? So there's always that question in your head anytime a fight happens where you're like, are they going to be the same version of themselves that fought the lower rank guys, the lower level competition, because it's not always the case. Like some people look really, really good when they're fighting cans, and then as soon as they start to break into the top 10, it's kind of like, oh, okay, so you take a much more passive approach when you have better competition. I feel like Adesanya was kind of like that. Like Adesanya, when he was actually on his way up, he was absolutely going into the fire with his opponents. Like he had a wars. Like I remember the Kelvin Gastelum fight, and even earlier on, he just had a much more of a finishing approach. Whereas the moment he became champion, besides the Paulo Costa fight, it was kind of like all of a sudden we saw a completely different version of him that was much more content to just be super passive and kind of squeak out decisions. And it's like, okay, well, yeah, you're the same guy, but also all of a sudden you're fighting the best competition. And so you take a different approach, I feel like it could have been that way for Losin Keita. Like when he was in the other organization, he knew that the level of competition was just different. So he could kind of let his guard down a little more and just be more aggressive. But the moment he steps into the UFC, he's like, okay, this is the big leagues. You know what I mean? I got to kind of change my approach and be a little bit more conservative. It's totally possible that was the case. It's not that way for everybody, though. Some people just, like Alex Pereira, like he came to the UFC and barged through the doors and just kind of marched his way up to the top and was just as aggressive. And to this day, he's as aggressive. Like think about his last fight against Magomedov Ankalaev. That was crazy. I mean, he just had no respect for him at all.
Yeah. No, it's funny how some fighters have different mentalities coming into the UFC. And it's like, okay, how do we keep the Alex Pereiras and kick out the others per se? But yeah, that's all I have to say for this card. So we can probably
Yeah, we can end it here. Sounds good.